Friday, actually. I just want to say shout out to everyone and also invite you to Rumbi Uncensored and let's have a conversation. It's a beautiful Friday. We are approaching the weekend. Yeah, I can't wait to have a great time. It's going to be a beautiful weekend for me. I love weekends. Do you? Come through, guys. Let's have a conversation, right? Right, come through, please. Make sure that if it's your first time to come across this channel, subscribe and ring the bell so that every time I'm live, you're going to come through where we have a conversation. I'm also want to say shout out to everyone. Don't forget to like the live so that we can push algorithm. James is here, Ambassador of Peace is here. Come through, guys. Okay, a conversation that is so important for us to have tonight. Okay, very, very important. You've seen the headline. So, Nelson Chamisa, Tendai Biti, Sikhala, Fadzai, Mahere to unite, and all others people, incredible guys, to unite so that we can face ZANU in 2028. Come over, guys. We have to have a thorough conversation. Let me tell you, not emotional one. I said thorough conversation. The time of releasing emotions is past. You know, we need to have a conversation. Very sound one. That's all I'm going to say right now. So, yeah. Comment graciously. Don't be rude. Atitu Kanega, we're not going to be fighting right now. We won't be saying that. So, the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe governor, it's going to be a long week. It has been really a long week. And this coming week, I'm sure it's going to be continuing until the 30th of April, where the ZIG is going to be unleashed into our society, you know. Yeah, guys, please drop your location where we're having this conversation. Powerful conversation. So can I tell you, you know, as a Christian and a follower of Jesus Christ, I've seen a lot of blasphemy going around. People speak about Jesus, but they don't really live for him. You know, Jesus is not a magician. God has never been a magician. You know, he has got principles that we need to live by. But I've seen, you know, especially people in the camps of ZANU PF, also Triple C, also, and also Chamisa, you've seen him dropping scriptures. So much of people are saying it's blasphemy, but I don't think so. I think it depends on how you are using Jesus' name. You know what I mean? It's one thing to use Jesus' name when it suits you, then that is a problem. But if you know that you need divine backup, yes, go ahead and call his name. He's always going to be there for everyone. All right, so we're going to be listening to President Emerson Mnangagwa talking about the reserves that are already stored now because we are going somewhere tonight. He's talking about ZIG. He said we have reserves, no, gold reserves somewhere in an unknown place where he knows and his officers, and you know, and that nobody else should know. And he was thanking his officers that, yo, I thank you for listening to my instructions. So it's President Emerson Mnangagwa, you know, so there's gold somewhere. Only the president knows where it is. So let's take a listen to President Emerson Mnangagwa speaking about the reserves that we have. Quite very interesting. Take a listen.
In the past, we sold all our gold, and you can't keep money. We have solid gold in the vault, so year by year, we're having about 1.2 tons of gold, solid gold kept in here, as well as outside. A few months ago, I went outside. I will not say where I had to inspect the gold. I told them they must keep outside to a particular place as reserve. I also went there and inspected the gold there. And I'm satisfied that my officers carried out instructions correctly.
In addition to the gold reserves and the 100 million United States dollars, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, Mr. George Guvamatanga, disclosed that banks are holding 300 million United States dollars.
Zimbabwe.
You heard President Emerson Mnangagwa confirming that we have gold reserves. You know, that gold is actually reserved in an unknown place, except President Emerson Mnangagwa and his officers know where that gold is. Right, you heard him. Yes. It's him and his officers who knows where it is. Right. Okay. You watched Gold Mafia, right? You remember Gold Mafia? Yes. For those that watched it. So we're also going to be listening to the new Reserve Bank governor. You know, he's saying you need to believe in the currency because, you know, there's been a lot going on during the week where people are saying this currency is not going to save us well. But he says that if you do need to believe, you know, I said people who love to use the name of Jesus when it suits them. It's I can do as I please, But when I need you, I park you like a car. I can use you. That's what they do. So Zimbabwe is known being a Christian nation. You remember when the Vice President Constantine Chiwenga confirmed during the time he was addressing the issue of homosexuality that he said Zimbabwe is known as a Christian nation. So I'm not surprised when people are calling the name of Jesus. I'm like, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, Jesus is my role model. Yeah, so maybe it's their role model, but this is the danger. They only call him when it suits them, right? So let's listen to the Reserve Bank governor. Also, confirming that people need to listen because even Jesus was never believed. So that's what's happening right now. You guys cannot believe Zig. Take a listen, please.
When Jesus came and he said, "I'm the Son of God," some believed, some did not. But that does not mean that he was not the Son of God. If you are going to doubt Zig, I said earlier on, it's game on.
Right.
You are going to hunt for Zig. If I were you, I would start hunting for it now. Because at the time you need it, you may not find it. And if you find it, you find it at a very expensive price.
Okay.
When Jesus came.
So when Jesus came, people never believed him. But, but he was the Son of God. That's what it's trying to say. So you need to believe in Zig. Because if you don't believe in Zig, you're going to chase Zig like the way that people are chasing Jesus Christ. I've seen people who think they're bigger than life, right? They say, no, don't tell me about church. Don't tell me about God. But when things hit, oh my God, they're like, where is God? Where is Jesus? I need him. That's what he's referring to. So he's equating Zig, to Jesus. Quite fascinating. So people are like, there are a lot of blasphemy going down there. Dr. Walter Muzembe, he said Jesus is in trouble in Zimbabwe. The amount of blasphemy around the Christ by politicians exceeds that of those who rejected him from his tribe. Let's use what is he gifted us with that differentiates us from animals, our conscience, to solve our problems, not seeing him as an escapism, an avenue for our failures. It's like saying, I will crush prostitution. No one has succeeded in this. The market determines these vices. Sticking to one slang and mandate super critical. I agree with him because he said, no, you can't say that you're going to crush because, you heard the governor said you will crush the black market. But don't forget that when this black market started, allegations were there are people actually taking money direct from the Reserve Bank. These were simple allegations. And those people are very close to politicians. Very, very close to politicians. Would take like a lot of money to the streets. Do you remember when we were using dollars? We had a lot of dollars that time. In 2020, when the bond note was introduced, I remember that dollars just, they were so much in the streets than ever. And he is saying he's going to crush that black market. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves is that how he's going to do that? Because if the people that are having dollars are very connected to politicians, knowing that politicians are calling the shots, these are simply allegations, how he's going to deal with it? You know what I mean? So it's a difficult one. People are questioning how is the Reserve Bank governor going to make it? Considering that there's still an elephant in the room, like Mr. Gono said, that he struggled. Remember when he later printed a $1 trillion money, $1 trillion local money, and it's Zimbabwe at that time because things were really, really tough. So it's interesting. It's interesting. The way Jesus is being robbed in, I'm like, okay, first and foremost, we can't even do right by the elections. We can't even sit and have a dialogue, but we can call Jesus when it suits us. But the dialogue that was Jesus, compassionate, unity, love, humility, we cannot. But we can only call him when it suits us, when we talk about the money. It's quite very interesting to watch. Very interesting. So Professor Gibbs Muzangano, he's an analyst, he's an economist. So he did send quite a huge analytical piece today, and he said that our policymakers and their failed mantras, if the bond note fails, I will resign. Do you remember Mangunjiga? If the bank note fails, I will definitely going to resign. So failure is not an option. Dr. Goni as well said, judge me after 6 months. That was Mutuli Ngube as well. If you give me 6 months, you will see changes, significant changes. And now today, I've only been a minister, that was Mutuli for only 1 month. We need patience. We know what we are doing. That was Mutuli again, Eureka, and that's in that mantra, Jakarongeka. You remember when he was being asked by Ruveneko, Parinyatwa, are you for real? No, Jakarongeka, Iminyararai, we're in control. So he said, what I can say to Zimbabweans is that they should give me 6 months to see the full impact of changes from the policies that we have pursued. That was Mutuli Ngube. True to their statements, the economic policies under Dr. Gono failed. The bond note failed. But my good brother didn't resign as he had promised. That was because, remember, people were calling out Mutuli Ngube that you have failed. You did not meet your promises. You need to resign like today, you know. So they gave Mutuli Ngube more than 5 years, not 6 months, and the economic impact of his policies turned out to be a runaway exchange from 1.1, which was the dollar versus the local money, joblessness, rising poverty, high standing growth, etc. Now, and Dr. J. Mushayavan again is coming and said, you need to believe like Jesus did. Not under my watch. You remember what the newly appointed Reserve Bank governor said? Not under my watch. I will crush the black market. Already he has started on a wrong footing. Policy inconsistency from day one and failed to deliver zig. Not on time. It's a mess. These statements means nothing. There's a big elephant in the room. Definitely ZANU-PF is a toxic political party. Once beaten, twice shy. Count me out. All I can see is that Zig will be buried soon. So these were analysis of Professor Gift Mugano. Quite sad. But again, Fadzai Mahere has really been pursuing, all the promises that ZANU-PF made. You know what I said? I said I need to have an external hard drive where I'm going to also be storing I'm going to be storing everything that ZANU-PF is promising. Yes. So I'm going to bring them up one by one. I need to take this thing very seriously. Other people are doing the same. He said this is a myth that the ZIG is backed by gold. They say they have $285 million in reserves. We doubted the accuracy of this figure because it includes an offshore component which is hidden somewhere that they have refused to publicly disclose. The terms on which he said offshore reserves are being held are unclear, and they are silent on how the risk of those reserves being taken is being mitigated. The regional standard specifies that current reserves must cover at least 6 months of imports. In 2023, total imports were $8.5 billion. The average monthly imports were thus about 710 million, which means that the currency would require import cover of up to 4.3 billion to adequately anchor and sustain the ZIG. The measly reserves of $285 million barely scratch the surface of what true reserves require. They should be honest and say that they revalued the currency. This gimmick that it's backed by anything insults our intelligence. So this is what Fadzai Mahere said. So we need new leaders. This has been a mantra. And I can say this, and honestly, adamantly, we need new leaders. I don't think the people that I claim to be leading are really knowing what they're doing, because the chaos that is in the country is a testament that they've completely failed our people, unfortunately. It's in black and white. So, with that being said, as far as ZIG is concerned, we had, Tendai Biti had an incredible interview. So before we get to listen to what Tendai Biti, some of the things that Tendai Biti says as far as this politics is concerned, I want us to look at some of the interviews that he did. Firstly was the interview he did with NRTV. Do you remember when he mentioned that he was also part and parcel of the MGC structures? And I also want to remind you when Jacob Mafume claimed that they were having their own presser in Mulawayo, where he was sitting alone and with some chairs, empty chairs, that had some clean bottled water, at a hotel. He was claiming that he was meeting Tendai Biti, Ngume, and all the other guys. But again, Tendai Biti, he went on to say, no, I was not part of that meeting. You heard. And then we also look at Ngume as well. Still talk about the structures that they had during the time of MGC, right before they became CCC. Right. And you don't forget 2 days ago, Professor Ngume allegedly, lied that Chamisa was coming to a meeting, and so that he could at least get a bit of numbers. And then people joined him. They were having their dances there, like things were going well. And Ostalusi went and tagged them on X and said, Zig. In other words, he was just saying, no, this is all a pretense, because he was like smiling and laughing. I'm talking about Professor Washman Ngome. All right. Wednesday, you saw him laughing at us when he was in Botswana, talking about SADC and said, there's no SADC. He was literally laughing. There's no SADC. Me, I'm a person who's really dying to have someone who can inject some hope and say things are going to be okay, But when you start laughing at me when I'm on a crossroad, I think you are really crossing me at the wrong button. You're crossing the wrong button. But you heard Mr. Wende laughing at Zimbabweans who are desperately for divine intervention. He was literally saying, you guys are simply wasting your time. So here we are now. We also had Tendai Biti again, had another interview. Let me just say this very clearly. I remember when Tendai Biti attended the Victoria Falls, the CEO seminar, you recall, where he was talking to Trevor Ngube, they had Nice George Hanakira, also Mchangwa was there, and Tendai Biti made it clear, and that was extremely angry with the fact that they had allowed Sengezo Shamangu to recall most of Triple C members of parliament. You remember that meeting? Was it sound like Tendai Biti was kind of, was part and parcel of? But I remember this Hopo kept on writing. He kept on writing on social media that, this fight here, ZANU-PF is taking advantage of the fight. Yes, there are some people disgruntled in Triple C, and it's known. And you remember people in Bulawayo, some of them were kind of talking and all the things. When Poo-Poo, what's his name? What? Poo-Poo, hey, is that his name? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly. That attorney, Pulu, sorry, my bad, Pulu. And Tendai Biti said, no, guys, I have nothing to do with this whole thing. But again, nobody believed it because people were saying, no, you guys have betrayed Nelson Chamisa. You remember that? You guys have betrayed Chamisa. But you don't forget, this was scripted before. On the 22nd of August 2023, a tweet was sent out by Joe Charamba, narrating all that occurred immediately after elections, all that drama that happened. You remember that? And when people were so much angry with Tendai Biti, they were angry with Washman Ngube, they were angry with Wente, people were angry with Jema for me. We spoke about it many times. I was also furious with Tendai Biti because, I would think about the grandmoms who trusted this war, who supported the movement. You saw people slept at polling stations because they believed that we're all going to be able to cross the line. But God knows what. We slept on our face with that. What's Miss Makanyara? She was dressing like a peacock on the inauguration day. I'm talking about my lady. And Tendai Biti came from saying, I'm not part and parcel of this. And because people were angry, and he wrote out a statement. Again, still saying, I'm not part and parcel of this. One thing that we need to remember, I think one thing that I've learned about us as Zimbabwean people, understandably so, we are a broken nation. In the words of my brother, that is Brian Kalgore, he said, Africa is not poor. Africa is broken. We are a broken nation that can never be content. Zimbabweans, we are broken. Because we are broken and we are desperate to come out of situation. It's hard. We don't apply our minds. If things doesn't go our way, we fly. There's no any other way. Because we are an upset community. And like I said, it's okay for us to be angry. But let me just tell you, the fact remains, if we don't unite, it's going to be tough for us to cross. Because people are capitalizing on our division. You see, and when we talk of unity, get this right. We need to have a unit of purpose. Unit of purpose is we don't have to be friends, but we have a unit of purpose of making sure that we are freeing our people. Guys, does that really help? The investment that were made for decades. Remember, for decades, opposition has been there since 2000. We talk of more than 2 decades, people fighting for freedom. We can just throw that in the bin. Guys, we can't give up now. Come this far where we came from. No, nobody ever said that the road is going to be easy. I just can't give up now. come this far where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe it's probably this far to lead me. Right? Can we give up? No, we can't. Look what's happening with ZANU-PF. You saw recently when they bring Nana Chombo back. They know they've got a goal. We must be wise and smart and come together, Zimbabweans, to free this country. We can't throw that all the time that we wasted. People that were killed, some who were jailed, some who were injected with poison. We're just going to throw that in the bin and say it's over. No. We can do better. We're just going to have to, sometimes when you want a solution, you're going to say, I'm going to throw my ego in the bin, like my pride in the bin. Yo, we need to come together. Let's listen to Tendai Biti. The interview was very intense. Like I said, I've been following him, listen to all his interviews. When he told me, you made it clear, I'm coming back. He said, I am coming back. It's got his assignment that he has. May God bless him and lead him and guide him. But he said, I'm not giving up until freedom is realized in our lifetime. You also saw Igbo Mandas are saying the same thing. We must be very careful of listening to gossip. That's why in my life, I don't tolerate gossip. If you come next to me, I'll tell you, talk about yourself. I don't listen to people's stories because you know why? I'm going to have to start seeing people in the way that I don't want to see them. I hate that. So, I don't like gossip. I want to use my brain, the wisdom God has given me, the spirit of discernment to see if something is right or something is wrong. I'm able to discern on my own. Very, very wise. When I need counsel, I phone the right people and ask questions. All right. So we're going to be listening to Tendai Biti right now. Let's listen to him. He's going to address the ZIG. I didn't take much because I really wanted to focus on the issue of the politics, which I'm focusing on, uniting our brothers and sisters. Let's come together and make sure the goal is realized, because we can't let ZANU-PF get away with stuff all the time. We must come together and unite by all means necessary. Take a listen, please.
This minister can actually make a difference in my life. This Reserve Bank governor can actually make a difference in my life. Unfortunately, there is zero confidence in Mr. Mnangagwa. There is zero confidence in Mr. Mtolis Nube. There is zero confidence in Mr. George Goamatanga. John Mushayavanu is too new. I will leave him, but he is my friend. He has inherited poison chalice. If I were him, I would have remained at FBC playing golf at Royal Harare.
But you speak about a big problem that we have, something that is endemic in our society, that you say that we bastardize the value of the United States dollars.
Correct.
And this is normally around profiteering and also political mischief, which you have been blamed on as a politician yourself and as opposition leaders, that you are the ones who are responsible, chiefly responsible for ensuring that people disobey their government. Business people are actually looking to push regime change agenda by manipulating prices and manipulating the economy so that you prove that ZANU-PF is not competent.
It's fiction, Dara. ZANU-PF blames everyone except it will blame sanctions. It will blame the opposition, but not itself. The buck starts and ends with ZANU-PF. Right. The buck starts and ends with Robert Mugabe. The buck starts and ends with the Shek building in Rotondo. They must accept full responsibility of the mismanagement of this economy. I bleed, Dara, when I go to places like Zambia, when I go to places like Kenya. We used to be way ahead of those countries. We used to be way ahead of these countries. I've said in a meeting recently that at independence in 1980, Kenya's GDP was $7 billion. Zimbabwe's GDP was $7 billion. Now Kenya is a $264 billion economy. We're a $25 billion economy. So we have scored on goals. We have suffered from self-induced policy distortions. We have refused to be democratic. It is not an accident that that countries that are successful have gone through political renewal, have gone through political change. South Africa attained democratic rule very recently. 25, 30 years ago, it has had 4 presidents, Zuma, Mbeki, Mandela, Motlanthe. In May, it is going to have another election. Take Zambia, Kenneth Kaunda, Chiluba, Rupia Banda, my friend, President Manawasa, President HH. We are stuck with 2 presidents, Emerson and Robert. Without the power of the state to renew itself, its economy will not renew itself. Its politics will not renew itself. Its economy will not. So Zimbabwe is trapped in a time frame. It's like someone pressed the freeze button and ran away with the remote control, which is why when you drive in our roads, in Chendambuya, the road is like it was built in 1932. If you go to growth points like Murewa, like whatever, they're like something out of a horror movie captured in colonial Rhodesia in 1951. So we have remained trapped in a time warp because of a selfish liberation movement that operates on the doctrine of entitlement, the doctrine of impunity, and zero-sum game. If I can't have it, no one else can have it. A liberation movement that is still fighting a war that finished 45 years ago in 1979. That's the price we are paying. It's a political problem.
Some people have then also argued that ZANU-PF and the ruling government at the moment is doing as it pleases because there is no opposition. You've failed to put an alternative. What is your view on that?
There are 2 sides of the coin. You don't need to do right. You just have to do right. So whether or not there's an opposition, surely it's wrong to steal.
Yeah.
There's massive corruption in this country. Surely it's wrong to mismanage the economy. Surely it's wrong to have high inflation. As for the opposition, I'm here to speak about economics, but the people of Zimbabwe should put their house in order and confront ZANU-PF. We can't go on like this. We have to put our house in order. To give future generations a chance. We can't have a country where more than 4 million people are living in the diaspora. We can't have a country where the longest queue in that country is the queue to the passport office.
Agreed.
Because everyone is trying to live. We can't have a country where 73% of its professionals, its top doctors, top scientists are scattered all over the world. Something is not right. We have to make Zimbabwe right. We are patriots. We love this country. But there is a problem. And the elephant in the living room is politics. The elephant in the living room is ZANU-PF. We have to confront it. And the Constitution allows us to confront it peacefully and constitutionally in Section 59.
You know what? I've told you last time that Zimbabweans, we need to be very careful. ZANU-PF did it so well by, just planting seeds of division and hatred. Sometimes, Chamisa says something, you will see like 3, 4, 5 people come and attack him. You know why? Because they're already assigned to make sure that at least they follow almost everything that he tweets. You need to remember that I feel, and I still feel, ZANU-PF invested a lot of money. Like right now, especially on social media. Remember, they were not really that much on social media. So they decided to hire people who can literally just following up and be sending, counter-sending toxic messages. And we need to be smart. I'm a firm believer that principles never fail. Never fail. It's like love. Love never fails. So they know, and ZANU-PF knows for sure. This is why they invested much on divide and rule. Otherwise, there was no reason. They were not going to divide these people. You have known that they've always been working together. Some people may argue and say, but that happened again in the time of Tsvangirai. But don't forget, there was still an elephant in the room. You know what I mean? There was still an elephant in the room. I've told you that whenever there are people together, unified, and a gospel begin to kind of, wiggle itself into the space, people can just start hating each other out of nothing. But that's the goal. Don't forget the words that were spoken by Chris Muchangwa. Chris Muchangwa said one day, you remember that there was a meeting after Songe's debacle. He said this statement, we are going to make sure that we actually protect Tendai Biti washed Mencube and went from Chamisa. Do you remember that? It's day. Kuti timborume yakuda kupika mwana wevana madziwa. It's day. Because the goal is to divide the people. And the world, I mean, social media world like on wildfire. Hoping that whatever Chris was saying was true. But no, that is the goal, to divide you. If they could separate these people, they know that, you know what, now it looks like the opposition is not strong, or there is no opposition. Yeah, don't forget, opposition is actually not even much of the leaders. Are the people who are fed up of the nonsense in the country. So opposition is bigger than an individual. It's a massive of Zimbabweans who are fed up. Those that slept on polling stations. At polling stations, those are the people I'm talking about. Those are the opposition people. It's actually not the leaders. The leaders are there because of the people. It's just manipulation. Sometimes you need to be wise. I've told you that we can't give up decades of suffering. We lost people, y'all. From the time we lost a lot of intelligent, amazing, incredible people. Died. Do you understand me? Some people were jailed. We know a lot. We have a job scholar. We have how many people? Fadzai were jailed. Van were jailed. I mean, what are you talking about? One day I saw a picture that was Manama Dugu. Do you remember Manama Dugu? They used to be part and parcel of the opposition. Don't forget that. Baka some bandage. Vanana Changirai. Vana Atam Tambara. People have been through the most. And we have the nerve to say we can give up on that? No. Like I've told you, we cannot give up now. Not come this far where we came from. Nobody can tell us that the road will be easy. But I also don't believe that we are too far for God to show us the way. I don't believe it. We may not be where we want to be, but surely we are very closer to where we're supposed to be. Where we come from is far than where we are going now. We must be smart. We can see that ZANU-PF is dying. It has ruined itself simply by evil. They are gone now. They're gone. And we can't allow these small boys who are just mushrooming there, pretending to be ZANU-PF, to come and start terrorizing us. We cannot allow. We must stand firm, strongly, and say, not again. Not again. Freedom has to reign. So I agree with him. Every Zimbabwean should come together and work towards the freedom that we need. Our parents did it, and you and I, we can.
But let us be fair here, Honorable Biti. When you say Zimbabweans need to put their house in order, what exactly do you mean that they need to put their house in order?
Look, if I come to your house and I destroy the Jura wall, you've got a duty to protect your house. So we as Zimbabweans have a duty to protect our dignity.
Agreed.
We have a duty to protect our mental sanity. We have a duty to protect our livelihoods. So we have identified the problem. The problem is ZANU-PF. So we have a duty to protect our livelihoods, our dignity, and our sanity.
And the people would argue that they put their house in order because, as you are responding, you said an election was stolen, and coming to this space that we now have ZIG, an election had been stolen. That's what you said, and those who had come to assist Zimbabwe have all gone. Now, the people of Zimbabwe will argue that they supported the leadership of the CCC, which you are part of, and they believe that they played their part. You let them down.
Thank you.
Look, I think that the demarcation between the people and their organizations shouldn't be met. We are as good as the organizations that we have, and we are all in it together. And we must not, and I think this has been a fundamental problem with our politics. We must not outsource our struggle to you. We must not do that. There are two things that, in my view, are needed yesterday. It is agency, agency. We have to be our own liberators, as Bob Marley, once sang. We have to be the active ingredient in the process of change that we deserve. During the liberation struggle, every person had an agency between those in division of labor, between those that went in the bush and actually carried guns, and those that remained providing support, providing assistance, cooking, and so forth. So I don't see enough of the agency. I see a lot of delegation of responsibility to a few individuals. I see outsourcing. It doesn't work like that. We have to have the agency collectively. Secondly, I don't see the urgency. URGENCY. So I don't see urgency and agency. It's missing. We have normalized the abnormal.
Agreed.
We accept madness. They come up with a new currency. It's business as usual. They come up with a mad budget. It's business as usual. They distribute vehicles and confetti, stolen theft. It's business as usual. They speak of a third term. It's business as usual.
Yeah.
It's not good enough. So I don't see agency. I don't see urgency. Collectively, I don't want to speak about political parties or individuals. I want to speak about our collective responsibility as citizens. We must provide the agency and the urgency.
But being fair again, Honorable Biti, during the Liberation War struggle, people had the urgency and agency that you speak about, but they had a vehicle that was pushing it, a certain place where your agency is put together, right? Because we can't say that for a car, we all know that for a car to move, each and every part has to play its role. But then there must be a car. There must be that vehicle. The fuel will be put in, the oil will be put in. In this instance, the CCC was the vehicle. And you have left it. Right now, people don't even know what is what or who is who in the opposition. And their agency, therefore, is left to ZANU PF that appears organized. Is that not a fair assessment?
Yeah, look, does the average Zimbabwean actually believe in the imperative of change? Does he or she actually believe in the obligation of change? Do we have the same zeal and excitement for change as we had, let's say, in 2000? Because that is the glue that must bind us together. During the liberation struggle, certainly amongst the black people, overwhelmingly, there was an inevitable, unquenchable desire for an independent black state, anchored on one man, one vote. The belief that a black government would liberate me. That theme and philosophy and polity was universal. I've got a feeling that we had that in 1999, 2000. It was embarrassing to be ZANU PF. I'm not sure now that I see the universality of the importance of change. I'm not quite sure that I see the same almost religious belief in the imperator of change. I see, so from that ideological, philosophical basis, I see a lot of bastardization. I see challenge on our value system. ZANU has done so well in creating artificial diversions, false heroes, false prophets, false value systems.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So it's now fashionable in Zimbabwe to be seen driving a Mercedes-Benz which you have never worked for, or to beg another person for a Mercedes-Benz instead of going to school and get a degree and work for yourself. So I think that we need to reset. We need to reset. It's much more. The problem is much more than political parties and organizations and leaders. There's something in the base that we need to revisit, which is much more fundamental, much more nuanced than the debate around political parties and leaders. I think we need to go deeper we need to go deeper. But
So, I love the word that he said when he's talking about it was so embarrassing to be ZANU PF, right? Today, I actually said something on my, my WhatsApp. I was like, if you're a Christian and you support ZANU PF, you need to start revisiting your Christian lifestyle, right? Because you're using Jesus Christ to lie, to hurt your own brothers, to kill innocent souls, and you come back and tell me that you go to church. It's a lie. I'm just saying, do your dirty work, but don't rob Jesus into your crap. It was embarrassing, but the church people are seen at the forefront. Pastors who are claiming to protect and defend truth, they are seen at the forefront with those that are killing innocent souls, that are lying, that have ruined lives, that have destroyed generations. Pastors, and walking on a church on Sunday and say that I'm a pastor. I don't want your God. I don't want him. You see, it's people who lie using God and hide behind the church, deceiving people. It was embarrassing to say, I'm ZANU PF. You know why? Because of evil deeds. No, but in 2024, it's not embarrassing. People are clamoring to be part and parcel of evil. That's what he's saying. Young people, you see them standing next to a car. They will sell their destiny for a car, a twin cab, and sell an entire destiny. Some of them were supposed to be great men and women, multi-billionaires. I'm talking from hard work. No, they've thrown everything by just being given an acquire. You call it an acquire car? Yes. Those are the people that we have in our society today. We must look at each other and tell the truth that we have lost the fundamentals. Truth is gone. It's gone. It's chaos everywhere. It's chaos everywhere. It's bigger. This war, honestly, I don't think the party thing works. We Zimbabweans across the board, because whenever we talk of political parties, we fight. All these political parties, you sell out. Can we just dissolve that for a minute and we come together and confront nonsense and say, we have had enough. We want to see a Zimbabwe that works for everybody, a country with its own dignity. That when we say Zimbabwe, people say, oh my God, we know where you are coming from, right? But not the moment you say you're Zimbabwean, people are like, yo, here we go again. We see our brothers and our sisters being kicked out like dogs. I saw a video that hurts me the most. They're being chased out of a hospital to say, I'm treated with a small little sweetheart, a baby that was following. My heart broke. But you know why? Because we have sold our souls to nothing. A car. A car. Inenda kumarara kana, what you call kuma scrapyards. A car. So men and women who were, it hurts me the most, men who were supposed to protect the city. Some of them today would have been multimillionaires. Do you understand what I'm saying? They've sold their soul for a Mercedes-Benz. Do you know what? You are more or less the same like a prostitute who sell their soul for material things. Yet they can work and have still the things and have their peace. No, but no, you can't have peace because those that feeds you, they come after you, right? They feed you and they will come after you. You have to pay for the cause. It's not for free. You're going to have to pay for it. Now, in the words of Kanyembao, that a man with money will buy you everything that you want, but you pay for it. Because it doesn't hurt him. He's got the money. What's up? Like if I've got the money, you can ask me for anything. I'll get you whatever you want. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me. To me, it's like, what 10,000 rand to you? To me, it's like, that's nothing. It's like change. Okay, have it. And you are, oh my God, I was given 10,000 rand. Right? But don't forget, there was allegation that 240 million was saved for elections, quote unquote. The ambassador at large said it. Right? When are we we going to wake up, y'all? Like, when are we going to really use our brains to think? When are we going to think? It's sad. It's really, really, like, it breaks my heart. Like, for me, I defend many. Oh, I'm so happy because Zimbabwe men have been ruined by politicians. These guys could have, I mean, Zimbabwe, what are you talking about? Those were great men and women, especially men. I'm focusing on men. Because men protect our cities. They're supposed to create heavy families that are successful. But today, men are begging. Men thanking another man for a phone. I'm talking about a Samsung phone. That's how disgusting it has become. To be reduced to nothing by another man. Don't forget, it's another man. You and that man, you're all the same. Same nation, 24 hours, but you know what? That person have decided, I'm going to ruin this person's life. I'll play them. Let me tell you, a manipulator is a dangerous person. A person that hijacks your brain is dangerous. Just hijack your brain. And today you believe in every lie that you hear. You believe a person who will go there and take a picture of matrax or matrax angle. You believe, but they are written sold. These tracks, you believe in lies that you see. A person will say, hey, no track record. I've given $1 million to a church, and the church will start screaming and cry. You don't check the track record. Where the hell did you get the money from? No, that's the problem right there. We've been reduced to nothing. Because we are worshiping these people. It's time. We say, take your money, brother. I believe in hard work.
Your role in making sure that this happens, because you're a political leader, right?
As an individual, I occupy spaces. I'm a lawyer. I've been doing what I've been doing in the courts with my strategic litigation. I'm busy writing. I think we're going to produce a book before the end of the year on unpacking liberation movements and so forth. But as an individual, I'm also entitled to rest, to have a sabbatical and so forth. So I'm in that mode. I'm in that mode of complete, I don't want to say isolation, complete timeout, if you like. But I still remain driven, Dara, by the fact that we have to have democratic change in Zimbabwe. It's unfinished business. And I wish that every Zimbabwean shares the strong desire that I have to see a democratic, prosperous, equal, transparent, just Zimbabwe. We deserve better than ZANU PF.
But you've taken time out from your position as vice president of the CCC.
I don't want to go into from everything. From everything.
How do you do that when you're elected? I mean, just recently we saw a video of you saying you're elected at Congress, you are the president of the CCC and you're not going anywhere. And now you've just, how do you let go of position that was bestowed to you at a Congress, just like that?
Everyone has got a constitutional right of controlling his or her affairs. At the present moment in time, as Tendai Biti, I've taken time out in certain spaces, including the political space.
But recently you also attended a meeting in Bulawayo, right, where you agreed on being rotational presidents. Right now, the president of the party is Wolfgang Ngube. Does he know that you have dumped him?
I'm not sure about the meeting you're referring to.
I think just about 3 weeks ago, Jacob Mafume announced that there was a meeting in Bulawayo.
I'm not aware of that.
You're not aware of that. So if those that the people look up to, because when you were in parliament, people looked up to you to raise issues on their behalf. When you were running Secretary General of the MDC, you became Vice President of the CCC, of the MDC Alliance, and then the CCC. And when you spoke at rallies, you galvanized people. You gave them impetus to have that agency and urgency. And now, when you, the leaders, take a back seat, who is supposed to give that vision?
I said very clearly, that the quest for democratic change remains an imperative in my life. And I'll die fighting for that change. And I'm quite sure that by the time I die, there will be democratic change in Zimbabwe. But at the present moment, I've taken a strategic retreat from the political space as Tendai Biti. I will be back. I don't know when, but I certainly will be back before 2028.
I love that.
And let us look at the movement forward, Honorable Biti, especially because this conversation was mainly centered on the economy.
That's what I preferred.
But it's problematic, is it, in Zimbabwe to just talk about the economy and leave the politics outside?
Look, I've already answered what I can on the politics.
So let us talk.
And I think the point I've tried to emphasize is that there has to be agency and urgency of Zimbabweans. I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that. I see a lot of political parties during the ballot time. I don't see those parties now. I won't care if there were a million parties. I won't care. We must just be alive. We must just fight back. Regrettably, I don't see us doing that at the present moment.
What can help us as a nation to build confidence? The 60% that you're talking about, the confidence in the currency. If, for instance, you were to sit down with John Mshaya and Doc, who you say is your friend, to advise him on this economy?
I think the real challenge is with his boss, not with him. He has a very limited mandate in terms of Section 6 of the Reserve Bank Act. His functions are just three: bank supervision, running the national payment system, and running the exchange rate. So on the exchange rate, he has inherited something that he found in the pipeline already. It's not his, but I'm quite sure that if he were if he had been allowed to implement his own ideas, I think he would have stuck with the Zimbabwean dollar. He would have scrapped export surrender requirements. He would have scrapped, as he in fact has done, the auction system. The auction system was toxic. I also think that he would have allowed the floating of the Zimbabwean dollar so that it finds its natural resting, place, so that market forces allow the opportunity to set the true value, and that there's proper price discovery using the market. However, he has walked into a trap, and the trap he has walked in is the myth and belief that we can actually have a bullion-backed currency, a currency backed by other money. Gold is other money. He has 1.1 tons. He was speaking about the production of 35 tons of gold. It's not as if that gold will come to the Reserve Bank for free. It will cost a lot of money, which this government does not have. But to me, it's absurd that you spend money, US dollars, to buy gold, to back a currency, which is why the world over moved away from gold-backed currencies in the 70s. What now backs currencies is confidence, number one.
Right.
There has to be confidence. What now backs currencies is the economy. the strength of your economy, the infrastructure in that economy. So if you go to South Africa, for instance, it's a $500 billion economy. You have no doubt that this current country can sustain a currency. Yes, the rand is volatile, but you have no doubt that this is a sustainable economy. Just look at the state of the infrastructure. Just look at the state of the roads and so forth. Now, if you drive from here to Mtavataba, you drive from here on the Harare Nyamapanda Road, you drive from Bulawayo to Victoria Falls, you drive from Harare to Churundu border post, you drive from here to Mount Darwin. The state of the infrastructure alone tells you that this is a country that can't sustain a currency. It's a collapsed country. It's a failed state. You spend a day in Zimbabwe, 3/4 you don't have lights. You don't have electricity. If you are unlucky to fall sick, you go to Parenyatwa or Harare Hospital, which can't even dispense a painkiller, which can't even dispense a paracetamol. That's the true state of our country. So in that environment, to sustain a currency will be very difficult. But you then go to our history, our legacy. The legacy we have is that through a crisis of over-accumulation, we bastardized a currency. The last time we printed a Zimbabwean dollar, it was a $100 trillion note, which couldn't buy you 2 bottles of soda. The people rejected that currency in 2007, 2008. Now, what happens is that when a currency is rejected, is the ultimate expression, is the ultimate vote of no confidence in a currency. And so when that happens, it's impossible to introduce your currency. There's no country in the world which has involuntarily dollarized as we did, which has been able to use its own currency again. You can create your currency and use it as change. That is possible. You can create your currency, use it change. The Argentinians have been doing it for a long time, but you cannot have your own currency. It doesn't happen, and it won't happen. So these games with currencies, you move from RTGS to ZIG to bond notes to bearer checks it's an absolute circus. It's an absolute a joke, but it reflects a structural myopia, structural illiteracy, structural cluelessness. Because any person with a basic understanding of economics and political economy knows that you can't play around with currencies without the basics being in place. What are the basics? It's political confidence. It's political hygiene. What are the basic? It's economic hygiene, sound macroeconomic management. Now, if you are like the Zimbabwean government that operates on deficit, you have a problem. You can't run that economy. Then number 3, if you have got long hands and you're corrupt, and this country is corrupt, you can't run an economy. You can't run a country. And that is where we are. That is our balance sheet, a set balance sheet.
What do you think will happen of the ZIG when it starts circulating? I mean, it starts circulating. It starts circulating digitally, but physically, it's expected to start circulating on April the 30th.
Look, I think the 4th Street is off today. Probably off.
Money changes.
Until the end of April, they'll be studying this currency.
I still don't believe that they are studying the currency. You know, have you ever seen people always say that you can even ask a question and say, how did people get to know how the money works at the ATM? Because the people that works in the bank does work with those thugs out there. What I'm just trying to say is that, of course, People are very close to these monies and who knows what's going on around this. I'm just saying, maybe communicating with their people out there and said, hey, yo, this is what you must do and this is what you must do. So we are just an enemy for ourselves. So when you talk about that people are studying the money, it's simply saying that they're talking to their friends. You know, when people are doing any illegal thing, like there's always going to be someone in the bank whom they're working with from the outside and who's going there and pumping information. Anytime the bank upgrades their systems, especially technologically, you must know that if something happens in the bank, they are working with another technical guy there who's giving information to the people out there. What I'm just saying is there's always been stories that people actually have access to go there and take the money. Then you ask yourself, how can that happen? But don't forget that the powers that people were saying that there's an legislation that, you know, allows the president to actually, you know, like to give directives to the Reserve Bank governor, or also the finance minister as well has powers to give directions, which means if Chilingwe can pick up his phone, this is simply speculations and say, yo, brother, I want you to do a transaction for me, it will happen because it's the powers to do so. So we need to look at our legislation and also for our you know, our sections in the Constitution, because like I always say, Musa actually an attorney, he said, you know, he doesn't understand. There's so many powers that the president has a lot, you know, that has been bestowed on him, you know, in the Constitution of Zimbabwe. And it was like, when I went through the Constitution, I was like, what, but why? We are having all this because, I mean, I can only imagine. Guys, I don't understand, like, I don't get it. But again, some people are saying we inherited some of these laws from Smith, because Smith, you know, he was a brutal leader. So all he wanted was to have control, right? You know, that's what other people are saying. But I'm trying to say that we cannot have laws, and then when things doesn't go our way, we get upset, but we forget that we have laws that are kind of authorizing people to do what they want to do anytime, any minute. Maybe then we need to go back to our laws and say, what can we do? I still believe that when we get into the new Zimbabwe that you are all crying for, we need to actually redo our constitution, in my opinion. We need to change some of these laws, you know, so at least we can actually give citizens more powers to kind of making decisions. Because what's going on in the country currently, can just show you good thing. If you give me the powers, I'll use them, right? What's the purpose? What's the point of giving me powers and I don't use them? Then I'm not doing my job. So at least I can just use the powers. That's all I'm just trying to say. You know, yeah. You can give me the powers, I have to make sure that I use them accordingly, right?
The official exchange rate, it has been placed at 1:13. I see even Zinara now has toll gates being paid in Zig, I think about 58. But once there's clarity on the index rate, remember when SI 33 of 2019 was introduced, the index was 1:1, then 1:2.1, but in no time at all, it will shoot and balloon. The biggest institution that will undermine ZIG is the government itself. Because number one, fuel will continue being levied in US dollar terms. Passports and government fees, including toll gates themselves, including license fees like number plates and so forth, licenses to ZBC, will continue being paid in US dollars. And the government can't afford any other alternative except the use of ZIG. And to the extent that the government itself will not and does not have confidence in its own currency, 4th Street will be watching. But remember, Dara, there are already institutional pressures on this currency. There are already institutional pressures on this currency. This currency is designed to fall. This currency is designed to collapse. because the pressures that brought down the bond note, that brought down the original Zimbabwean dollar, that brought down the RTGS dollar, that brought down the new Zimbabwean dollar that they buried on Friday through statutory instrument 60 of 2024 will remain. Why are those pressures? Fiscal indiscipline and lack of fiscal consolidation at the Ministry of Finance. Pressure number one. So they have to print money. Pressure number two is our huge appetite for imports. Our huge appetite for imports. We have to import things. And some of them we have no choice. We don't produce oil in this country, hydrocarbons. That's about 1.5 billion US dollars. That has to go. We are not producing enough electricity. We have to import between 300 to 600 megawatts per month. That means that 200 million US dollars has to go to electricity. We need drugs in our hospitals. We don't produce life-saving drugs that our hospital needs. These are traditional and fair imports. But we like trinkets and junkets. We are spending over $1 billion US dollars on motor vehicles. We are spending around $300 million on soft life, on champagne, on alcohol, on perfumes, and so forth. Go to Sam Levy and you see the trinkets.
I feel attacked.
I don't think you stay in Borodale.
Alcohol.
Alcohol. You see, your thing, your Jamesons, they cost a lot of money. And the country is spending around US $300 million on soft life. So the pressures, the import pressures are huge, which will put tremendous pressure on the ZIG. So ZIG is dead before it's born. It's gone, it's kaput. Which is why there was no point in transiting from the RTGS dollar to ZIG. There was no point at all, except vanity. I want my signature on the currency. They're even delaying it because the old notes, which were ready, by the way, had Mangundla's signature. John Part 2 also wants his signature. You can't blame him because at least he will show his grandchildren that, look, here's my signature. And the president also wants to say, I've got my own currency. Here's my ZIG. So it's a game of vanity.
Would you...
I'm worried about, remember there's an issue of 2030 Ndengenichi report. Don't forget. 2030, yo, ZANU-PF, yo, brothers, you'll be gone. By 2030, Ndengenichi report. Don't forget. So there's a lot going on. Yo, people are desperate. They are desperate for, for momentum because we can see ZANU-PF is dying daily. It destroyed itself, by simply treating people like animals. Abusing its own people, favorism, right? Greedy, corruption, disrespect. So people are desperate. They are desperate for momentum, hoping that 2030 may happen. We don't want to talk about the term. I don't want to hear about that one. That's not even an issue to discuss. I mean, there's nothing to talk about. Do you know that it's possible to have a title and actually not having no impact at all? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's possible to have a title and still not doing anything. Yeah, it's very possible. So a title is not equal to impact. What's really important is how are you impacting lives? Some people don't care. You can have as many titles as you want. That's why there are so many people who call themselves prophets today. We are from the kingdom of Satan. They have no clue of who God is. But they think that it's about a title. No, call me apostle. Call me a prophet. Sorry, call me. No. Sit down. The real teachers of the word don't even have titles. They've dumped them and said, no, I don't need it. Some may argue and say, but the scripture speaks that, you need to have a, which class do you belong? No. It's not for the people. It's more to do with your relationship with God. So, so having a title means absolutely nothing. You can just be walking on your own when people have forgotten about your name. It's very possible.
Accept ZIG payments.
Of course, it's the legal tender of the country. We have no choice. The law demands that we accept ZIGs. But if I were to give you a lift in my own car, and if I were to charge you, I won't accept ZIG. I would just say, travel for nothing. But business, we have no choice.
Amazing. I mean, there's been an argument, Honorable Biti, that when you were finance minister, this economy did not produce jobs. That this economy, because it didn't have its own monetary policy, was stagnant and was dying. I think
those are revisionist positions.
Hi, Wendy.
The true state of the matter is that when we came into government, it was dead. Teachers had gone away. Everything was dead. So we resuscitated everything. We brought back teachers. We brought back the functionality of the public service. When I came in, capacity utilization was 4%. By the time I left, it was 80% and 100% in some sectors. In real terms, and they revised the figures, in real terms, the economy grew by an average of 13%. That's a miracle. And you see, with the economy, it doesn't like, people will tell you, go out there, people will tell you because they lived the benefits of a stabilized economy that was not bastardized by stealing, by printing of money, by fiscal ill discipline, and by self-induced policy distortions. The economy grew in real terms. There was employment in real terms, and we knew the direction. We knew that the US dollar was never going to be a permanent currency, and that's why discussions had already started in SADC about the establishment of a monetary union, a SADC monetary union, so that the region would have its own currency, and the decimation of borders in the region. That agenda is necessary because only a true regional integration will save Zimbabwe, will save. To regional integration is going to be a hindrance to African integration.
I just want to find out from you, how do you manage to keep these figures, exact dates in your head, and exact, figures of the money in your head, just like that?
People must read, Dara. People must read. There's no substitute for reading. The brain is a sponge. So if you stretch it, it can absorb unbelievable data. So people should read. People should read.
But people read, but you are different. You would know the exact date when the exact day on Black Friday. You would know the exact statutory instrument number and the date it was promulgated. You would actually know the exact figures to the dot of inflation 5-6 years ago. I've forgotten the inflation 6 months ago because it's just running away.
People should read, Dara. The brain is very elastic. So stretch it, stretch it. When I was very young, I did a case with Advocate Chris Anderson. May his soul rest in peace. So you may know the case, Feba Chidarikire. Many years ago, Feba Chidarikire was charged with murder. So we briefed Chris Anderson. So the record was huge like this, thousands and thousands of pages. But the guy was not writing; he was just sitting there, and he knew every page 700, page 3000, page what, and so forth. And I learned from him the inelasticity, the elasticity of the brain. It's a sponge. can absorb information, but there's no substitute for reading. There's no substitute for reading. People must read.
Amazing. I want to thank you very much, Honorable Biti, for joining me on this, the Free Talk. But before I let you go, Honorable Biti, maybe just talk to the people of Zimbabwe from your heart, the message from your heart that you'd want to deliver to Zimbabwe, to Zimbabweans. And also, maybe if I could ask you, what advice would you, if you sit with President Emmerson Mnangagwa, just the two of you, what advice would you give him, except maybe to step down?
My message to President Mnangagwa will be, please, I beg you, keep away from the idea, the temptation, the seduction of a third term. Keep away from it. It will plunge this country into chaos, and you absolutely don't need it. You've been in government since 1980. So if you don't have a legacy, you'll never have a legacy in another 5 years. If you don't have inheritance, you'll never have it in another extra 5 years. So I beg you, don't lacerate the constitution. Don't put Zimbabweans in a situation where Zimbabwe can implode because of the seduction and temptation of a third term. I know that people around you, people in your courtyard, possibly your children, they might be tempted by that. It's dangerous. It's unnecessary. It's a disaster for our country. For the ordinary working people of Zimbabwe, we have toiled for a long time. The children of Israel spent 40 years in the bush, in the desert. We have spent 44 years. We need salvation, but we need action. We need action. We have to reorganize ourselves. We have to reset. We have to understand the common good, the common vision. And the common vision is to have a democratic, green, solid, prosperous, just and equal Zimbabwe, which has jobs, which has functioning hospitals, which has functioning schools. And that requires all hands on deck. It requires a purity of belief, purity of the struggle. It requires sacrifice. And as I said before, it requires agency and urgency.
I want to thank you very much, Honorable Biti.
All right, what an interesting interview there that was done by Biti. Absolutely incredible. I loved almost every word. Like I said to you guys, we must be very wise because, one thing that the enemy does is enemy is smart. He makes sure he divides you. When he divides, they divide and rule. You're gone. Unity is powerful. Let's come together, brothers and sisters. We don't have to be friends, but we can't give up now. Again, I've told you. For those who didn't know, I can actually sing. Apparently, I'm waiting for people to bring my stuff so that I'm able to sing for you. I can sing. So, like I've said to you before, guys, we can't give up now. I just can't give up now. Come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me the road would be easy, and I don't believe we're probably this far to leave God. We're very close, y'all. We're very close. So we must not give up. God is able, and we cannot just give up now, y'all. You know what I mean? We lost some of our brothers and sisters. People died for this struggle. Some were hurt. Some today don't have, some they've got short hands. Do you understand? Some are disabled as we speak. Some are mentally disturbed. Are we going to throw that, just throw in the towel at the last minute? When the tough gets, when the going gets tough, we're going to have to push out. Trust me, we are very closer than you think. I've told you we may not be where we want to be, but I'm sure God is the reason why we're not where we used to be. Right? So I don't believe that we should give up. We should even come closer now, and we do not even have to be friends. But because we have a cause, we have a goal is to make sure this Zimbabwe is free. And for me, as a daughter to President Emmerson Mnangagwa, my father, I'll tell you the truth, is people are ruthless. Don't forget the time Mugabe, was kicked out. everyone acted as if they were not together with Mugabe. They would do the same. You know, if they see you falling, you will see them turn against you again. That's how human beings are. But all I can say is principles reign supreme. Honestly, this constitution should never be violated. Let's do the right thing for generations. You've done so well. Honestly, you did so well. For me, I think what you can only do is to make sure you pass the baton peacefully. And you know what? And then watch and cancel, you know, where applicable. But at least that's your legacy. Knowing that, you know what I did? I was never pushed away, but you know what? I gave out the baton to someone else. Look what happened in Senegal. Incredible, incredible transition. You saw it. Incredible transition. Guys, Zimbabweans, we need to stop hating one another. Let's learn. If we can speak wrong, we can speak right. If we can send vile, we can send love. It's a choice, right? We choose what we want to do. We choose what we want to share. But I suggest that this becomes an era where we stand together, holding hands and say, I know you are weak, but together we can be strong. You know, I know you may not understand better, but I can actually give you knowledge. I know that you're not perfect, but don't worry. You're doing enough. Our purpose are unique. There's no need for fighting. You know, as much Chamisa can be a leader, but trust me, you will need Tendai Biti as a brother to do something because he's also good in an area. You need also, you know what, Sikhala is strong in his own area. They need each other. Fadzai, you can see she's doing incredible. They need each other. Gift of Salosi, Vanashiba, incredible women and men and women are doing work. We need each other. We also need you and I. Together we can. Even if you can clap your hands. You know, when our father and our parents were fighting for the struggle, my aunt used to tell me that we used to even go down there and feed the soldiers. You know what I mean? They would cook for the soldiers. Maybe some of us will be the one that will be cooking. You know what I mean? Oh, yes. We continue to be kirai, you know. Boys, listen. Yo, men, we believe in you. You can do it. And together we can. We're a strong nation. We're a powerful people. A blessed nation and a blessed people. A successful generation. We cannot give up now. Huh? Giving up is not an option. We'll stand firm and defend the truth that we know. And we're going to move and march forward until we cross the river. We have the freedom that we want. Zimbabwe will be a democratic nation. And I still believe that we will build all these ruined walls. We are going to build them up. And we're going to call on each other. I said, you know what? We may not have maybe enjoyed it, but at least we did it for our children. That's wisdom. Wisdom is profitable to direct. So I'm calling upon all of you across the world, Zimbabweans. Let's come together and fix our country. We are the people. We are the Vene. But if we sit back and watch, look what people are doing. Some are just coming to collect. I saw an incredible bridge today from China. And I was asking myself, I'm like, wow, they're just coming to collect. You know why? Because it's so many, we need to start making strides, moving forward, believing in each other, speaking positive. You know what I mean? If we can speak negative, we can speak positive because we choose the words that we want to use. But in the end, we play from victory and then we know we will win because we are holding the checkmate. But we must also be wise as we move. I love you all. May God bless Zimbabwe. May God bless you all. And bye for now.